with SQL. Like this note is on understanding SQL and databases, and it's a beginner's guide. Like it's for people who have never learned SQL before, right? So are we all together? Good. Now, what is S? Like you can pronounce it as SQL, or you call it SQL, or most time I call it SQL. Like SQL stands for Structured Query Language, which is more like a standardized programming language that we use to interact with databases. Now think of like just think of it as English language. It's a language on its own. You know, language English language on its own too is a standardized language. Like it's a language that has rules and you can't just say it anyhow you like. So it's quite similar. Like SQL is quite similar to this, but it's just a programming language. It's not a spoken language, or it's not, do you get all this kind of human language. It's a programming language that we use to interact with databases. Now think of databases as a warehouse where you keep your data. Just put that in mind for now. Now SQL is the backbone of database management. That is, whenever I want to manage this our warehouse where we keep our data, just for now let's keep it in mind. We'll get to talk about databases soon. Now, it allows you as a user, maybe you're the analyst, maybe you're a database administrator, or anybody working with the database, it allows them to retrieve data, meaning that it allows you to get back some data that you kept in your warehouse. Now, another thing, like that's retrieving data. Another thing is it allows you to update or modify data. When we say update, for instance, now if some persons in your database, they've changed their name, so you have to update it. So it allows you to update these names, like the data in your database. Another thing it allows you to do is also to insert a new data. For example, now if you have a new customer and you want to put their data into their information into your database, you are going to do that. Also delete unwanted data. Maybe a customer left, or maybe they died or something, and you feel like, oh, we don't need them again since they will not be patronizing us again, right? So you can delete their record. So another one is it helps like create and manage databases and their structure. So also we use SQL to create databases itself. Like it's SQL we use to create database itself and also to manage it. Does that make sense? Good. Now, SQL as a communication tool, think of SQL as a common language that allows you to talk to your database. Now, regardless of whether which database system, now think of database systems as like you using any type of warehouse. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Like for instance, now it could be a small one, it could be a big one, or it could be a story building, it could be a bungalow, whatever the kind of warehouse you have. Whether you're using the MySQL, we are going to talk about it later. Whether you're using PostgreSQL or you're using SQL Server or you're using any kind of SQL, though even for this course, we'll be using MySQL. SQL works as a bridge between you and the database. Now, the thing is, the SQL, like your database does not understand English. You don't understand the language that the database speaks. So SQL is like the bridge between both of you. Like you say it in SQL. Do you understand? SQL will translate it to a language that the that your database understands. Then your database will return what you want. If you are speaking a language, if so for instance now you decide to go to maybe somewhere like France now, you cannot speak French and the person cannot speak English. Do you understand? Now if you start keep asking the person for something, they will not be able to help. But if you have more like an interpreter, like a translator, right? That when you speak to the person translates to this to the Frenchman, and the Frenchman says like returns an answer for you, right? And the person also like translates it back to you. So that's the same thing SQL does. It serves as a bridge between you and your database. It allows you to talk to your database. Is it clear? Now, like I was saying, SQL works as a bridge between you and your database because it enables you to issue commands that the database understands. Just like I was trying to explain, SQL allows you to speak in such a way that your database understands. Your database does not understand English. So if you start saying English to your database, it's not going to understand. So SQL is the language that your database understands. Think of your database as the Frenchman and you as the English person, as the person speaking English to a Frenchman that does not understand English. And think of SQL as the translator or the interpreter that is more like helping both of you to understand each other. Is it clear? Now, example of how SQL works is, let's say you're working on for an online store. Maybe you're working with Shopify or you're working with an e-commerce store, and you want to find what are the 10 top customers that made the largest purchase. Yes, Bapawale.
Sorry, sir, I can't see your screen. I don't know, maybe it's from my end.
Is it from his end or from my end?
I can see it now.
All right, thank you. So, like I was
I
saying,
can see it now.
like I was saying, that if you are working for an online store, think of it like Shopify, or maybe you have your own business and it's just an online store that you run. And say you are trying to find what are the 10 top customers for the month of August. Like, who are the people that we made the most amount of money, that bought the most amount of item from us? The 10 top people. You are not going to speak to your database and say, "Hi, database, please give me the people that bought the largest 10." No, it's not going to understand that. Like the largest 10 purchases, right? It's not going to understand that. What it's going to understand is a SQL query like what we have under it, that we are going to say something like, don't worry if you don't understand it. We are going to say something like select name, customer name, that is, we are going to tell it that give me the customer name and their purchase amount, how much they bought from others, that is from the table called orders, that is out of all, because in the database you're going to have multiple tables. We are going to talk about it soon. Like, I have a section on what is database where you understand that. But what we are trying to say is that in a database we are going to have multiple tables, and the way it works is that a database contains multiple tables, and a table contains multiple rows and multiple columns. Does that make sense? So now we are saying that from the table called orders, I need the customer name and their purchase amount. How much did they buy? Like, what's the amount of their purchase? And I want you to do something for me after getting that. I want you to order them like that sort. I want you to sort them what by the purchase amount in descending order, meaning that from the highest to the lowest. Then I want you to limit it to the first 10. So if you don't understand this, we are going to talk about select, order from, or like order by, limit. We are going to talk about them like in details, like topic by topic. Might not be today, but that's just one thing I want you to understand, that this is what it looks like when we speak the SQL language. Is it clear? Good.
Yes, it is.
Good. Now, here's the command. Here, the SQL command asks the database to what? To first retrieve the customer name and their purchase amount from the what? From the order table. Now, we asked it to what? To sort the results, that is order by from highest to lowest. DESC means what? Descending order. and show only the top 10 results, that is limited to 10. Now, we've been talking about database. What is database, or what is a database? Now, a database, think of it like as an organized collection of data structured in a way that allows you to easily access or manage or update your database, or update your data. Now, what we are trying to say here is that, think of it like, I'm trying to make you see it, that think of companies like Amazon. They generate this amount of data that people buy from them every time all over the world, right? Or Walmart, or you can think of any other big company. It could be Google, it could be Apple, it could be Microsoft, it could be anyone. Like, do you understand? So they generate this amount of data, but they want to keep them organized, right? They want to keep them structured such that it allows them to easily access this data and also manage this data. And if there is a need to update or delete this data, they will easily be able to do that. Now, what I'm trying to say is that, if you just think of, you have a library that the book is not ordered, like the book is not sorted, like it's not organized, that anybody just drop book anywhere, like you can take a law book, put it in social science, like everything is just merged together, no sorting alphabetically, nothing, no catalog. Think of, if you need a book, like maybe you need um maybe a book like by Shakespeare or something, or anyone. How are you going to find this book if your library is not ordered? That's going to be a bit difficult, because it's not going to be easy for you to get that done. You just keep working. If it's a massive library, maybe like a university library or a national library, that they have books like from maybe 1990 something, like maybe over 100 years of collections of book, right? So it's going to, like, you spend like 1 year looking for the book and you might not even find it, because the books are just a lot. In fact, you might get to where the book is and your eyes will still overlook it, and you still continue searching and forget and omit the book. So that's the same thing that is going to happen to your data if it is not organized. So a database helps you as a company to organize your data, and also put it in a structure that allows you to easily access it. Meaning that it helps you to put it in different tables, and helps you to define what is the relationship between table A and table B. Is that clear? And also it allows you to do all the management stuffs. Like, for instance, if you need to add a new customer, if you need to delete a new customer, or if you need to update the record of a particular customer. Now, databases are everywhere in today's world. From storing, it allows you to store customer information on an e-commerce website, to managing financial transactions in bank. Have you thought of it that where do they keep all our transaction records, such that if you go to bank today and you ask them that you need your bank statement for 5 years ago, like for maybe like 2019, they are going to give it to you, like every transfer you made. That's because they have a database that allows them to easily organize their data and access the data. So they will just go and look for your name, Farida. Okay, this is our account number. Then they will generate for this particular period that you requested for. They will generate it, print it for you, and they will say, Miss Farida, this is it. Now, how does a database work? What a database does is it organizes the data into a table, just like what we have in Excel, just like spreadsheets. Now, what happens is that each table stores data related to a particular subject. For instance, now, if it's about each table is going to have what they are specialized on. For instance, now you can have a table about customers information. Like under customers information, you're going to have maybe like what is the ID of this customer. You're going to have what is the first name of this customer, what is the last name of this customer, what is the email of this customer, what is the address of this customer, what is the city of this customer, this is their next of kin. Like all of these stuffs, you have like they'll keep that. You can have one that has to do with others too. Alhamdulillah. You can have something that has to do with others too. Others in the sense that maybe you have other ID, other amounts, other dates, like information that has to do with order, or maybe you can have something that has to do with products, like what is the product ID, what is the name of the product, like how many units do you have in stock, like some things that are related to product to be in a product table, things that are related to orders will be in an order table, things that are related to customers will be in a customers table. And tables are made up of what rows, we call them records or observations, and also columns, we call them fields or features. Now look at an example. Let's say you have a customer table. You have four columns, which is customer ID, the first name, the last name, and their email. This is the first row with with for customer 001. His name is John, and his last name is Doe. Then is John at his email is what is John at example.com. Look at Jane Smith also. So this is a table that like called a customer table, because everything here has to do with customers, right? And how do we say it now? It has to do with customers, and they all contain things that has to do with customers only. Now each row represents one customer's record, that is customer 001. Then each column holds a specific type of information. For example, customer ID, customer name, etc. Now, is there any question so far before I continue? Let me allow us to ask questions if there is any. All right, so it seems like we don't have any question yet. Now, I think everybody is understanding, which is good. Now let's talk about what's the importance of SQL and the importance of databases. Now, why are databases important? The number one thing is that it allows you to organize your data. Data organization, right? Databases provide an efficient way for you to store large amount of data. For instance, now a company like Google cannot afford to put their all of their data on one laptop. How big is the laptop going to be? Like, like what's going to be it can't be even one, like what am I saying, terabytes? Like it has to be a really a lot. Like then you can't have a laptop. And what happens when the laptop crashes? Which shows that you can, like you cannot store large databases, sorry, large amount of data outside databases or on somebody's personal computer. What happens if the person just wakes up tomorrow and decides to format the whole computer? So it allows you to put large amount of data in an organized manner. Imagine if Amazon did not have a database, it would be almost impossible for them to manage what millions of customers' data. Another thing that a database does for you is that it ensures data accuracy and integrity. Database helps you to ensure that the data is accurate, is consistent. For instance, a database enforces rules like requiring a unique customer ID for customer. Now, what we are trying to say is that when you're creating a database, you can ensure some unique rules. Like if you don't have a unique customer ID, you cannot. It's just like data validation, right? Data validation also helps you to improve the accuracy and integrity of your data. So we can do data validation in Excel in SQL too. For instance, you can do data validation to say this column cannot be missing. Like if you are not filling this particular column, you will not be able to submit. The next thing is data security. Now, if you have an Excel file, once you grant the person an access to your Excel file, they already have access to all of your data. But when it comes to database, even if I give you access to my company's database, that does not mean that you have access to all of our data. I can restrict your access to maybe the customer's information, the other's information. Because think of it like this: a company like Amazon or maybe a company like Google, they have the opportunity to store people's credit card. Now imagine somebody just decided to like get access to everything, and maybe this guy is working in maybe sales department and is getting access to everybody's credit card. He's just going to start wiring their money. So they try to restrict access. So this guy works in sales. He's going to only have access to sales data. This guy works with maybe customer service. He's going to only have access to customers' data. If this guy works in HR, he's only going to have access to employees' information. Are we clear? Good. Now, the fourth one is multi-user access. Database allows many users to access and work with your data simultaneously without issues. Now, the next one is why is SQL important? One, SQL is a universal language for data, meaning that SQL is used across various platforms and systems, making it a universal language for interacting with data. Another thing is efficient data handling. SQL allows you to handle large amount of data quickly and efficiently. Just imagine like if I give you data of an Excel sheet that is almost like maybe 10 gig worth of data, it's going to be amounting to around maybe like something like I mean millions of rows. Truth be told, it's going to be millions of rows. Now, if you try to load down your Excel, trust me, your Excel is going to be struggling day and night. The Excel is going to be struggle, but because databases allows you to only retrieve the data you need at the moment, so it's not going to lag. Except you need all of the ten gig worth of data, which most likely would not be the case in most cases. So you would not need that amount of data. Like it's not going to it's not going to be lagging behind. Now, you can also use SQL for data analysis and reporting. Now, as data analysts, scientists, data engineers use SQL or SQL to extract valuable insights from massive data set and generate reports for business decision making. Now, what's the difference between SQL and Excel? Both SQL and Excel are tools to work with data, but they serve different purposes and they have unique strengths. Now, the first one is we are going to talk about it in three ways. Like, what's the feature? What does SQL entails when it comes to that feature? What does Excel entails when it comes to that feature? Now, the first thing is the purpose. The purpose of SQL is to manage large data sets in relational database. When we say relational database, we are talking about databases like a combination of tables that are related to each other. For instance, now we are going to talk about, let me show you something. Can you see database schema? Now look at this database. It contains four tables. The first one of them is, can you see clearly? Can you see clearly?
Yes, boss.
So the first one is customers, the second one is products, the third one is orders, and the last one is what? Is employees. Now look at it. If you look at these customers and orders, they are related, they are connected by with what? With customer ID. That's what we mean by they are related. Because this one has customer ID and this one has customer ID too. Now, the relationship between orders and employee is what? Is employee ID and employee ID. They both have employee ID. Now, who can tell me what is the relationship between customers and employees?
Maybe they both share the same orders.
No, you are close, but that's not it.
INC.
No, no, that's not it. INT is a data type. We'll talk about it. So, who wants to give it a shot?
You bet data.
I think since employees actually related to others. So I guess others, I mean, the employees to be related.
Exactly. They are both related. They are related to each other on customers, on orders. Customer is related to employees based on order, meaning that you just think of it like think of it like, let me take two persons including myself. Let's say Farida and Zainab, right? Farida does not know Zainab. Zainab does not know Farida. But Farida knows me and I know Zainab. Do you understand? So me, I'm the connection between Farida and Zainab. Does that make sense? So if Farida needs to reach Zainab, she can reach Zainab through me and say, "Oh, this is your friend Zainab. I I want to ask her to do something for me." Right? So I can connect them together and say, "Oh, me, I know Zainab, I know Farida." Do you understand? So I'm playing the role of others here. I'm the connection between customers. Other is the connection between customers and employees. Is it clear?
Yes, I did.
Good. So that's what we are talking about when we talk about relational database. Now let's go back to our learning. And also for Excel, we use it to analyze and visualize smaller data sets. Excel only works with small data sets efficiently, not large data sets. Why I'm not really spending a lot of my time on Excel is that as a data analyst, you will not be working with small amount of data sets. So when you are working with large amount of data sets, you would most likely be dealing with Python. So if you are thinking of how to run away from Python, just know that it's a dead end. You are not, like, there is no running away from Python. So like you can only use Excel for small amount of data base, like small amount of data. But when it comes to working with large data sets, right, your go-to is SQL and Python. Now, also another thing is data size. This can handle millions or billions of records easily. This is limited to 1 million rows. That is, I think it's about 1,054,000. But even if you have that 1,054,000, if you want to confirm what I'm telling you, go to Kaggle, filter to large data, and download any data that is about 1 gig and try to access it during using your Excel and see if you sleep there or not. Just try to do maybe a bit of sorting or filtering data, or maybe what's it called? You just see that thing keep rolling on your screen, waiting. Excel is not responding. Now, moving on, structure relation, like it talks about relational database, like tables linked by what? By relationship. Like this one is spreadsheet based, meaning that you can have data that has no connection at all in database. Like you can, sheet one can be about customer, then sheet two should be about football. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Sheet one in Excel can be about customer, sheet two can be about football, sheet three can be about world war. Excel is not going to complain. But this is not something that is quite applicable when it comes to SQL. SQL works with data, with tables that have relationship. Now the next one is functionality. Advanced data query, filtering, and what? And updating. That is, you can do some advanced data querying with it. But what is it called? Excel allows basic data analysis. It allows you to do basic charts and also basic formula. But you can't do all of this. You can't use SQL for to create charts. That's one sad thing about SQL. That's one thing Excel has over it. But the way we normally do it in real life, in real world, is let me just give you it, like what it looks like in a data. Maybe you are working as a data analyst, right? So the way it normally works is we need we need data. So I'm going to get this data. I can either from SQL, I can either load it directly into my Python or download it as an Excel sheet, like Excel worksheet. If it's not really large amount of data, I can download it as Excel worksheet and then load it manually into my data. Do you get what I'm trying to say? But the way it's normally work is I try to load it directly into my Jupyter notebook using SQL. Is it clear?
Sir. Yes, sir.
How come nobody asked questions today?
They are coming on board, sir.
Eh, most likely. Now, the next thing is it's the collaboration. It supports thousands of users working simultaneously. Can be very tricky to manage with multiple users. Now, automation. SQL can automate queries and reports. Excel uses macros, but automation is what is limited. So that's why I'm saying we should spend less time on Excel, even though we spent a lot of time. But let's face the big boys. Excel is just to show us what's it called. We already learned quite a bit of the basic concept. You cannot, like, it's going to be very rare for you to want to work with power pivot in Excel, because power pivot is like pivot table, but it allows you to work with multiple data at the same time. It's a bit difficult for you to do that in Excel, especially when you're working. So, like we come to, because companies, like, it's only really startup companies, like maybe they don't have a lot of data, that they put their data inside the Excel spreadsheet. If you have a company, you can't connect your, what's it called, your data, your backend to Excel. But those of us that have programming, maybe we've heard about front end and back end. If they ask you what database did you connect your backend to, you now say Excel. Be like, what? In fact, I would rather connect to Google Sheets. Now the last one is security. Database have what? Robust security and access control. But these ones, security for Excel, security is limited and files can be what? Can be tampered with. Are we clear? Now, when do you use SQL? When you have what large data sets, when you want to execute complex query, SQL allows you to perform complex queries that retrieve specific data from multiple tables. Like you can retrieve data from 4 or 5 tables together using SQL. For instance, now let's go back to the one I was showing you guys. Now I can say I want the customer's name, the customer ID, their first name, their last name, and their birth date, right? Then I can go to product, I can go to orders ID and say I want the employee ID, I want the product ID, I want the order total. Then I can go to employees too and say I want the first name of the employee, the last name of the employee, and the birthday of the employee. And I can come to product and take customer category and price too. Meaning that I can take like all of these things together, but it's going to be very difficult for you to get that done in Excel. Are we still together?
Yes, sir.
Good. Now, database management. SQL is ideal for managing structured data across different tables with strict rules for data integrity. Meaning that if you are working in finance, I can make sure that the kind of access I'm going to give you to the database does not go beyond having access to financial data. In fact, if you are working with finance, right, if you are working in finance department, I can make it such that you don't have access to some financial data. Maybe you are entry level. Do you get what I'm trying to say? We don't need to know the amount you are paying our board of directors. I can make sure that you don't have access to it. Where somebody, maybe your boss, your manager, your line manager, would have access to the same data you don't have access to. I can customize access to data. And you can also use it to manage like data across different tables with strict rules like data validation for data integrity. Now, let's talk about the types of SQL that we have. Now, SQL is standardized, like we said, but there are different versions of SQL depending on the database system you use. Do you know what language? Let me ask you guys this: what language do they speak in the UK?
English.
What if I say no? What language do they speak in the US?
American.
Exactly. That's what I want to say. Like they speak American and British English. Do you understand? No, you can't say this is the particular country that speaks English language. We have Australian English, we have Canadian English. Do you understand? So think of SQL like English language too. Even though we say SQL, no, like you can't really write directly in SQL language, just the same way you can't speak directly in English language. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Do you get what I'm trying to say? Good.
Yes, sir.
Good. Now, depending on the database system you are using, which is similar to depending on the country you are or your country of origin, yes, you even have Nigerian English too. So that's what's going to determine the kind of SQL dialect. That's going to determine the kind of English dialect that you'll be speaking. These are commonly known as SQL dialect, while the basic commands remain unchanged, meaning that even in English too, the basic things like you can say most likely a couple most things the same way you say it in English in British English is the same way you say it in American English. That does not mean that if you can speak British English, you cannot survive in America. The same way is if you can learn only one dialect of SQL, that does not mean that you cannot survive when you encounter other dialects of English. Just like some people, the way they speak Yoruba, like if anybody is from Ijebu or Ekiti here, please no offense, but then Ijebu has their own dialect, the way they speak Yoruba. What did you say, Hassan? Exactly. So we can, but if you are someone that you can speak, maybe you can speak Lagos English like myself now, right? So if you go to Ijebu, you'll be able to at least communicate, even though you might not be able to communicate like very well in their language, but that does not mean that you cannot buy food, right? So now the basic commands across all of these dialects remains the same. Like if you want to select, if you want to insert, if you want to update, they are basically the same thing. Each system have additional features or slight syntax differences. Like there are some other features that are in MySQL that are not in PostgreSQL. But you're going to learn MySQL because it is the most widely used SQL dialect. Just like maybe British English or American English is the most widely spoken, right? So British English is MySQL is the most widely used also. Now, what are the common SQL dialects? The first, number one, in terms of ranking, in what is what MySQL. It is an open source that is widely used in web applications like WordPress. Now, PostgreSQL, what open source, but it has advanced features and highly scalable. So, if you are looking at building something like Instagram, it's better to use something like PostgreSQL because it's going to grow and you need to expand it. We have the Microsoft SQL Server. This one is not open source, it is proprietary, it is owned by Microsoft and commonly used by large enterprises and integrated with Microsoft applications like Excel and Power BI. Now the next one is Oracle SQL. Oracle 2 is proprietary, meaning that it's owned by Oracle and designed for enterprise level business with complex data needs like banks or large corporations. And SQLite. SQLite is kind of lightweight, often used in mobile application or small scale project. Like if you are starting up a project like this, maybe you want to build a mobile application, so you can just use SQLite. Like how many people will use it? We use my mobile application, right? So you can just use that. Now, why do we have different SQL dialects, right? While the basic commands are similar across systems, different SQL dialects offer unique features tailored to specific needs. That's why we have it. For instance, now PostgreSQL is known for handling complex queries efficiently. MySQL is popular for web application because it integrates well with PHP and other languages. Right? Oracle SQL is designed for high performance in large scale enterprise application. So can you see them now? Like so it is your need that will tell you what SQL, it is the need of the company that will tell you what SQL application to use, or what SQL dialects to use. Now, how data analysts work with SQL? As a data analyst, what's the interaction going to look like with SQL? Now, the first thing is you retrieve data for analysis. Data analysts use SQL to query database and retrieve the information they need. For example, if a marketing team, maybe you're an analyst on the marketing team, you want to what analyze customer behavior. What you are going to do as an analyst is you write SQL queries to get what is the customer's purchase history, the number of visits to the website, and the product review. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Hello.
We are with you, sir. I
Good.
am with you. Sorry.
Good. Please.
We are with you, sir.
Please, let's be together. Now, an example of such query would be something like if an analyst wants to retrieve the top 10 products that sold the most in the last quarter, they might write something like this. Don't worry about this. We are still going to learn each and every one of them. So is this is going to, but what this is doing is that it's selecting the customer name, the total quantity, and it's aliasing it as the total sold. It's taking it from orders table. Then it wants the order date to be something between 1 2024 to 31 3. That's the last quarter. The first quarter of the year. 31 3 2024. Then we're going to group them by their product name, and it's going to sort them by total amount in descending order, and is limiting it to the top 10. Now, another thing you can do is data cleaning. Data in a database is often messy. Like we can have duplicates, you can have missing information, or errors are common. Data analysts use SQL to clean this data by analyzing it, and this could involve removing duplicates. So if you want to remove duplicates in what's it called, this is what you're going to write. Basically, what you're saying is that D from customer, where customer ID from customer table, where the customer ID in select customer ID from customer group by customer ID has a count greater than one. That is, it's more than one. Like the occurrence of this customer's information is more than one. Just delete one of them. Also, updating or filling in missing information. You can update employees. You can set their phone number to unknown whenever the phone number is null. So you can use it to clean data. I personally am excited about things ahead of us because there are things that you cannot afford to miss, and there are things that really, really would make you the analyst. What happened, Abdulaziz Ahmed? Why?
I'm good, sir. I'm just looking at the load of work.
It's not any load now. It's always simple and direct. SQL is simple. Can you see that it's one thing about SQL is it's close to the way we speak in English, honestly. Now, or you can also summarize data using SQL. Data analysts often need to summarize or aggregate data, e.g., you can calculate the total sales by region or the average order value. I'm serious. No, there's no trouble. Just know that you are about to start having fun with data. Like you're about to start working on things that are really, really visible. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So don't worry. I'm not going to give you a lot of assignments like the one we did in SQL. It's just that the problem here is just that your assignment will be a bit more technical because it's going to involve you analyzing, retrieving, like it's going to be combining some concepts together. But it's not going to be like sort data alone. No, 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 no. It's going to like we'll start improving on the kind of assignment we'll be getting. So don't worry, be excited. I promise you. For example, calculate the average order. Like you can use it for SQL provides something like sum, count, average, mean, max. You can see that SQL is already giving us almost everything we had in Excel. Like almost all the things we learned in Excel, we're already getting it back. Now, calculate the average order value for each customer. Now, you can select customer ID, average order amount from orders. Like these are SQL codes, like queries that you might not understand. You can also join table from multiple. You can join data from multiple tables. Now, databases are often stored in related tables, store related data in different tables. For example, a customer's table might store customer information while others table store purchase details. Now, as a data analyst, you use joins. Joins is a keyword in SQL to combine data from what from these tables to get a complete view. For instance, now to get a list of customers and their what and the details of their order, you can say something like this: select from customers. Don't worry if you don't understand this, we'll take it one after the other. Select customer name. From orders, select order ID. From orders, select order ID. From customers, then join the order table on it, then join them on the unique, what's it called? What they have in common on customers dot customer ID, orders dot customer ID. Don't worry. And you can also automate SQL. You can automate reports. Once a SQL query is written, it can be used over and over again. So you can schedule SQL query to run automatically, generating daily, weekly, or monthly report for stakeholders that you don't have to worry about. Once you've done the job once, you can just say every month run this. So okay, for instance now, do you think banks do you normally get monthly account statement? Do you think they generate it every month? They set it on autopilot. Like once is the last day of every month. Remember the way we did weekend, like what once is the month end or end of month in Excel, EO month in Excel. So once it's the end of the month, it's going to just send you your what's it called account statement for the month. So in conclusion of our introduction to SQL, SQL is a vital tool for managing and analyzing data, especially in the world of data analysis. It allows you to interact with databases, extract useful information, clean data, and perform complex analysis quickly and efficiently. Now, by mastering SQL, you unlock the ability to handle data at any scale, across any system, uncover meaningful insights, and drive decision making and business success. So that's a good one on